Okay, he quickened the pace, it's the lesson to wait. He taking the train and he out of this place. Pills on pills, it's the lesson to pain. He dreaming, but when will he wake? When will he break? I guess all he can do is keep lowering the gas. The crown, the gold, kind of blurring.
Hello, nomads, hello, party people, hello, strangers, everywhere across the internet. My name is V, and today we are doing a special Nomadic Opinions episode where I decided to pick from one of my friends that just happened to be a subscriber to do a special video chosen from the topic of the mind of MajicZenith, as shown by the thumbnail right here. Amazing, yes, I know. And the topic he chose for me to do for you guys right now, as I'm now getting to this after several days of working and getting something that's coming in the mail soon, is the history of RPGs from 2006 and below to current day. So I'm going to show the 3 examples I chose for the 2006 and under for you guys in this staple right here of 1, 2, and 3.
We will cease battle position. We will hold battle position. We have shot down the enemy.
Now, as the grandstanding tradition about what RPGs were back from 2006 and below in time, going all the way back to when gaming first introduced role-playing games, the concept was very simple. It was a fictional dictation about what the creation was for anything. And from that standpoint, they had to do something of the fantasy lineup about what they wanted to do. From the gaming process, to where the story wanted to line up, to where the fantasy elements were to conclude itself for. Sort of like in the beginning where the role-playing game kind of came about from the board top stuff of Dungeons and Dragons. Something I never played because whenever I saw it, I was like, oh my god! Just toss the shit out the way because it makes no goddamn sense. And yet, ironically, I play a lot of Final Fantasy games, and I'm starting to get into Fire Emblem. The irony is lost on me, and I don't care. So, from just that whole standpoint about how they tried to do the fantasy elements over the story elements, the element of how it evolved over the last couple of generations to the 2000s and 2006 is kind of where the staple about where RPGs were coming into its own, in my own opinion. In this one standpoint by itself, where the market of fantasy development was going from a niche market of people that wanted to be fantasy aficionados of the medieval era and the dark ages and the black period of all things magical, to now being ingrained stories of urbanesque sort of development and a new, more grounded sense of story where every single mark on the fantasy genre of the role-playing game was more developed. From where we had carbon copies of Final Fantasy VII's formula of you could make a good, entertaining story for all people of walks of life to enjoy, but keep to that fantasy root of fiction. And that was only the inclusive elements about why the 2000s, 2006's RPG market was starting to thrive. Where the other development of it was, like I was saying for Fire Emblem, where it still kept to its fantasy roots, but it tried to introduce something where the modern day people could get more of a hold on, using people that had interesting designs for them that seemed like people we could emulate, but not really see as something we could find to idolizing to look into. It was literally parties of individuals that we could see as good people to draw inspirations from, to see good artistic visions from, and keep on developing from that market niche. But that is only from 2000, 2006, and beyond the timeline back to when gaming first started. But what about the modern day period of fantasy genre games that are RPGs? Well, I'm going to show you guys the 3 examples I'm showing right here in 1, a 2, and a 3.
That works for me.
So, from the modern day period of 2016, where majority of the market of games I see for advertising are stuff for RPG markets, the entirety of what I see in the new genre of stuff is where it's developing into a more urban sense than I've ever seen before, where all the Final Fantasy games now are starting to get very militant, where all of the Deus Ex games that we all see, they may not appear RPG, but they are militant RPGs with good choices, good fantasy elements, and a good lore behind it. All of the Fire Emblem games, people are drooling like mad over the supermodel looking women in that game, where so many people want to play that non-stop. Pokemon, it's evolved into something even more, where Sun and Moon are probably the most anticipated games I have ever seen thus far, and I couldn't imagine this being going on at any point in my lifetime, where I'm just like, oh my god, the creativity, the grandeur, the glory, all of this wonderment is happening before my eyes over an RPG setting, which is something to be admired from for a big franchise of RPG games that wanted to be taken more seriously back when it was just a tabletop game. Because this is how the evolution of RPGs was actually first started, where people were looking into all the big things from the medieval period of the Arthurian lore, and from the knights, sorcery, and the sword, all that stuff from the Middle Ages for the Western audience, to then develop itself into the Knight's Quest, the King's Quest, the Dungeons and Dragons, the RuneScapes, the formulas for Doom back in the day, the Nox, all of those RPGs, no one really wanted to take seriously because they didn't want to be taken as a nerd. But by 2000 to 2016, the development process about transitioning from you don't want to be a nerd to you don't want to be left out of the loop was starting to become a bigger and wider sort of bridging effect than a gap. Everyone wanted to get into these properties in a sense where they wanted to do the thing but keep to their roots of being the popular people, the jocks, the stoner goths, the people that want to be rebels, those that want to fuck authority and have no real regards for it. They still wanted to keep that thing for themselves back in 2006. But by 2016, you know how many people I hear on the streets that want to talk about the biggest games coming out, like Pokemon Sun and Moon, the Deus Ex Human... all of the big news on Kingdom Hearts 3, every single thing on Fire Emblem Awakening. Oh my god, do you guys know how big role-playing games have gotten in the grand spectrum of all things entertainment? Because I don't think anyone does. They have evolved past a certain point where it's not a niche market anymore. The want and need for RPG games, although kind of well kept in the entertainment industry, is starting to become expanded. Something where no one can keep their eyes closed about, where they want to get better at making the craft more accessible for everyone. On mobile games, on consoles, in commercials where it seems like a television show. Don't believe me? Look up Final Fantasy 15 Brotherhood. That is an actual anime of the prologue about explaining how Noctis found all of his friends that he calls his brothers. Every single market on where you find an RPG, you will find a giant fandom trying to make it even bigger and grander, from movies, shows, any single property that they could think of. But here is the question that no one ever asks. If the entertainment industry keeps it so low-key about how popular it's getting in all of their markets globally, where it's such a huge market where everyone wants to get in on the project, why is only a select few companies making it? There are a lot of theories, but I'm not here for theories. I'm just here to actually state a few small things I found out from a few of my friends that work in the gaming industry. From Fang and Kim, who recently left Square Enix about a year ago, they've honestly said from various different gaming conventions and stuff that a lot of the different departments, a lot of the different companies, they don't know how to formulate a good RPG story the way that they do shooters, racing, action, fighting, all of those sort of niche genre of things. Like, take the account of Naughty Dog. They can do stuff like Uncharted, but also do games like Jak and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank. Even though Insomnia Games kind of handles more Ratchet and Clank if you want to be more technical. It's the same kind of regard of saying Capcom, where they did such a good job with Devil May Cry 1 through 4, but they dropped the ball by letting Ninja Theory do all of DMC. There are certain companies that can't do the market well. Sort of like if Def Jam was to actually make a new Def Jam icon, a new Fight for New York, a new anything involving a story-based thing about a big-time person trying to get with all these real-life artists that have all these fantastic fighting moves while climbing up that ladder of money and profit. Not a lot of people can do that formula justice except for certain departments, certain companies. And because of that, we have those select few companies that do it well because they've done it like a science. They know all the formulas, all of the variables, all of the correct equations to make that sort of market work. Which is something to always keep in mind for when you want to do something on a successful rate. It's like if someone were to say, Vince, why don't you do country music? I don't know country that well because I hate country music. I can do R&B, I could try to relearn how to rap and do hip-hop, I could do soul, jazz, hell, I'll even do, I guess, if I have to, pop metal, shit, I'll even do classic rock. I love classic rock and regular rock and certain punk pop music, I guess. But I can't do country music or bluegrass because I don't know the genre well enough to do that process. I don't know the formulas, I don't know the equations, I don't know the proper variables to make that genre my own. It's literally something I would have to devote a lifetime to that I don't have anymore. My lifetime has been devoted to the certain genres. It's been devoted to R&B, rap / hip-hop, jazz, blues, classic rock, regular rock, pop rock, punk, and pop punk. Those 10 genres are what I know, are what I fuck with for a singing prospect. On the same regards, if someone were to say, oh, what about your best friend / brother Casey from Omegaverse Gaming? Why doesn't he play stuff that's like Leisure Suit Larry or the King's Quest games? I don't know about how to answer for Casey, but I'm pretty sure that he probably couldn't due to the fact that he probably doesn't have the games to do it, and if he did, there are certain things where the jokes would try to take over his own credibility for jokes, making his job sort of unnecessary as a commentator. Or it would be like, oh, but what about your best friend / Theo from Theo vs. the World? Doesn't he do the games of the sex and the blah 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 blah? No. The things I know for sure is that I know Theo wouldn't try to be part of the lowest denominator and make a game about sex on his channel be a Let's Play. I don't see him doing Leisure Suit Larry. I don't see him doing that. I think it was like a General McGrath's Conquest. You know that weird pixelated game of the cowboy trying to get with that Indian lady on the stick where she was tied up and the whole goal of the game was to rape an Indian lady. I don't see him doing games like that for many reasons. Mostly because he is someone that has dignity and grace. Also, Stephanie would kill him, but that's beside the point. The central point I'm making is that you can't expect a lot of companies to do what other companies have done just because you request it. They would need all of the people that have made the games, have studied under the people that have made the games, and all that sort of stuff, and make them work on that same process in that same format. You can't expect the same people to produce the same thing you want them to make because you didn't give them the same thing to make. You didn't give them the same environment, the same factors, the same anything at all to solidify what you wanted in your development, what you wanted from your games, and what you wanted to establish for what you wanted for in your entertainment. That is your own fault for dropping the ball if you can't make the game. And to have your fans expect you to make such a product from what you see from another competitor will not make you money. It will make sure that you go bankrupt and will make sure you make no business elsewhere. Because frankly for me, I'm a voice actor as well, so I don't give a damn what companies actually do if I'm not running the company. All I know is, if I'm gonna get paid to do a voice for anything in the future, where I hopefully get to work with the great voice acting pros of legend, I want to make sure it's of a good company that can back up paying me to do the voice, to make sure I don't falter into obscurity because they gave me a bad role for a game that no one wanted to get. That is the only thing I would care about, where I would want to look into what company it is for what the game actually entailed. I don't care about what the company would do, I just cared about how they're going to produce a game for said company. And you're probably wondering, what does that have to do at all with RPGs? It all rolls back into what I was saying about companies not being able to do RPGs the same way as other companies. I'm always bridging that whole, you have to have a connecting branch of things from the central topic. If we're talking about RPGs, you have to talk about the companies. If you're going to talk about the companies in RPGs, you have to talk about what companies can and cannot do. If you cover that stuff, you also have to talk about the occupation that you entail that leads back into all the things to the core element, where I will stay firm on this. From the past 16 years of gaming to where in 2000 to 2016 of the development of RPG games, there has been a high rise in what people wanted in a story, what they wanted in a game, and what they wanted for in entertainment. For that whole said piece though, not every company can do what those companies have done. I could honestly name 17 different companies off the cuff right now that cannot do that. I could, but I don't want to because that would be pointless. That wouldn't really show that I know anything except I know names. What I can say is that RPG elements for a good RPG game must come from good companies, must come from good developers, and come from people that know the science. In order to make a good game, make sure it goes through all the great process, you need to have the smart enough team to go into said development to create said prospect to make sure that you don't go bankrupt for whatever company that you're representing. Because at the end of the day, whatever product that you make, RPG or not, it has to be solid. You cannot just go into something and say, oh, since I saw Square Enix made over $4 billion by making sure that they sold out on Final Fantasy 15 in November 2019 of 2016, Kingdom Hearts 2.8 in January 16th of 2017, and released Kingdom Hearts 3 and made $17.6 trillion in November/December of 2017. We should copy their formula by making our own fantasy game where some guy has to travel with Bugs Bunny and all these people from Looney Tunes in the same veil with the same exact science.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
That won't work, and you all know this. So, bridging element to all that aside, what am I trying to say about the RPG market though? It is, and always has been, a rare gem that a lot of people have tried to give credit to, but a lot of people have been afraid to do so. It's a very precise element in the gaming industry that needs an exact science to what it wants to develop. if you're trying to be a company that makes an RPG game, make sure you study how to make it properly rather than studying those that do it poorly. If you're trying to be a voice actor, like I am, to get into a video game industry, just look into all the people that talk about what companies they work for and how you want to do the smart moves like they did, how you want to get into those elements like they have. And if you're just someone that doesn't care about the RPG element at all, why did you watch this video? So, aside from all that though, guys, this is probably the first time I've ever gotten into such a grand detail because of someone else picking the topic. Will I do this again in about 4 episodes after this, where it's episode 10, where I get to choose another person to do the topic? But until then, come back for episode 6, where we talk about the remakes of It and The Crow. Peace and take care, my lovely little nomads out there. I'll see you next time. To all my party people out there, remember to keep on grooving that exact beat of yours. And if you are a stranger out there and you love my weird ass energy for all things movies, games, whatever you choose, make sure you hit that subscribe button and become a nomad today. We have a lot of fun here. We have a lot of a dazzling experience here. We all try to have a bubbly personality with all of the glory. Except I'm a fucking crazy ass motherfucker. So we might have some fun here if you enjoy that. If you don't, you can leave. I'll see you guys in my next video.
Yeah, look, 1, 2, look. A strange child, not many will play with me. Grew up a bit, same thing, I told them all to wait and see. I'll be something you hate to see from you throwing your shade at me. Now no one wants a fade from me, the opposite of make-believe. The throne has a vacancy, perfect for the shape of me. Now ladies wearing Maybelline, trying to get 50 shades of me. The same people who praising me took aim at me heinously, while I starved with 50 cents and M&M's, waiting patiently. Now I'm eating, and they all want my food in their mouths, cause I'm whining and dining on food they'll never pronounce. Flying physically fit on a Lear wing, doing pull-ups with a beauty, with an accent and designer clothes from Europe. Bitch, dweller turned deity. The flip is such a miracle, a demigod now, though y'all once called me